Hi, and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of March 8, 2021. In terms of the stock market direction, I think Monday is going to be an up day, then the market will go down on Tuesday, then it will reverse to up on Wednesday and Thursday, and finally Friday looks like another down day. And when I say stock market, I mean primarily Dow Jones and Nasdaq. In terms of the important events that we may expect on each of those days, I think that Tuesday is probably going to be one of the more important days of the week, as well as actually the weekend coming up is going to be relatively important because we're actually going to have a new moon on a Saturday. So in terms of just the general background, this whole time period this week and throughout, say, 13th, 14th, there's going to be increasing focus on things like oil, gas, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and other sort of Neptunian things along the lines of beverages, drugs, poisons, water contamination, transportation over water, all of those liquid and liquid-related things, so to speak. So I do expect that oil prices may increase over time, and sometime around the 13th they may reverse. There may also be increased news along the lines of increased focus on either some music being released, or a movie coming out, or a new beverage, a new pharmaceutical, or some announcements related to, say, Navy or shipbuilding or anything along those lines. And for those areas, they probably will be doing slightly better than expected. Perhaps a movie is more popular than expected, or maybe a project in one of those areas receives extra funding, or the prices go up, maybe prices of some beverage or some medicine, and or those businesses in those areas may experience greater profits again because perhaps they have raised prices, or perhaps because the popularity of related items increases. So Tuesday compared to Monday looks like a relatively more tense day. Hence, like I said, market may go down, and there may be some increased concerns about increased governmental regulations or some restrictions. It could be due to this COVID-19, or it could be due to some other need to impose some more regulations. And again, increased news about gas, oil, pharmaceuticals, and chemicals. And particularly this week, 9th and 10th, is where we may hear about some important announcement in the news around, again, related to gas, oil, but it could also be excessively wet weather or pollution or marine life. All of that can be related. So maybe there's an oil being transported and it leaks, and there are concerns about environmental contamination. So something along the lines of like maybe there's a trial and there may be some questions about the effectiveness of medicine, or whether or not, what's the degree of contamination, or what exactly is the goal, or what's the long-term goal for some project related to gas or oil, like a pipeline construction or vaccine distribution or a shipbuilding contract. And there may also be concerns about excessive sort of damages due to, say, water erosion, pollution, contamination, etc. And this could be affecting farming lands, for example, or animals, like farm animals. So those things could be related along the lines of like there's a major flood and it contaminates soil and leads to, animal waste getting into drinking water or something like that, or vice versa, that animals get sick because of some polluted water, for example, or some medicine that they've received that perhaps poisoned them. And for individual countries, I usually track transits to the charts of US and China, and again, 9th seems to be important for both of them. So for US, there might be increased focus on announcements related to like IT, aerospace, electric cars, telecom, social media, as well as rates and currencies, including cryptocurrencies. And the announcements that they're made on the 9th, I think, would be somewhat divisive, meaning that half of the population may be in favor of it and some and the other half would really dislike that. So it could be something, announcement perhaps of a large loss by a company in one of those areas, or about its CEO doing something that, again, some people really love and the other half really think is crazy. For China, the 9th but also the 14th seem to be important days of this week, and similarly there will be focus on things related to, say, Navy, oil, etc., but also on its partnerships, China's partnerships and alliances, and there again may be some either conflict or there may be some focus on solidifying someone's leadership position and putting a person in charge of maybe a new project that, again, could be done in alliance with another country or because of, threat from another country. And this could involve something that's really ambitious and geared towards like high tech, aerospace, IT, something that, again, involves either Navy, oil, gas, or high tech, or perhaps a combination of both, maybe some high tech weapon that is mounted on a ship or something like that. I'm not an expert in that, but for China, also the 9th and 10th are significant. And again, like I said, globally, 9th and 10th to me stand out. And yet again, for China, there may be some tensions with partners and increased focus on sort of either being accused of or accusing others of engaging in some illegal activities, such as like spying, hacking, or stealing energy. And there may be some increased tensions with partners, basically, for China, 9th and 10th. But then globally, 10th may actually be a reversal day in terms of the direction from Tuesday, and I think most likely it will be an up day. And on Wednesday, we may expect increased news about like IT, telecommunications, airlines, electric power, batteries, so any, again, high-tech or kind of domains that are related to, say, electric vehicles. And there may be some surprising announcements regarding some either legal decisions or lawsuits, import-export, international relations, and international travel, especially by air. So perhaps there's a legal decision like along the lines of how the travel should proceed, or something related to a company in one of these areas, maybe an airline company, for example. Or there's a decision that affects immigration policies and that affects travel, and again, especially by air somehow. And when I say surprising, it's probably nothing going to be anything crazy shocking, but probably along the lines of things are moving quicker than expected, so something is put in motion faster than perhaps was anticipated. Thursday, 11th, doesn't stand out as much to me compared to some other days of the week, but I think it's going to be an up day. Friday looks like more of a down day, and on Friday there may be increased news about gold and silver, and I think possibly those may go up, or at least experience greater than usual volatility, especially on Friday afternoon. And for US, Friday, the 12th of March, may see increased news about any sort of financial institutions, banks, currencies, financial policies, and also news about contracts and deals like acquisitions, for example, related to finance, maybe acquisition of a bank branch or financing of a business, and the business will likely be in the area of communication and or transportation, or perhaps about some new digital solution implemented to perhaps be able to send money faster, or something, some sort of a app or something, or innovation that accelerates the ability to pay for goods faster, to sell things faster, deliver products perhaps faster or in more way. So something that kind of makes things move faster, but involves this financial element and doing things digitally. There may also be on Friday, again for US, news about just increased movement of goods, increased sales, and those are not necessarily good or bad, just that there may be increased news about, perhaps a report comes out about the status of retail sales or something like that, and the news will likely focus on things increasing, travel, increasing sales, etc. Then, as I mentioned, Saturday, the 13th of March, is going to be a new moon in Pisces. And what's interesting, it's going to occur with Venus being exactly conjunct Neptune, also in Pisces. So there will be a lot of focus on the Piscean Neptunian energy for the following 28 days and mid-March. So sometimes, in 2 weeks from now, which is 28th, 29th of March, we might hear about some news that will be related to the news that would come up on the 13th. And again, I think it will be related to things like oil, gas, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, and again, anything that's like lives in the water, fish, or goes, through the water, ships, navy, anything like that. And it could be, again, probably something that will be favorable for those areas. Venus, obviously, something that brings money or focuses on something that's being beautiful or artistic. So there may be increased focus on, say, music, movies, audiovisual equipment, photography, underwater photography, etc. So things of that nature, topics related to that will probably be, again, more in the news for the next month, starting on the 13th, and especially on, say, 28th and 29th, there may be follow-up news. So maybe if there is a news about oil prices that comes up on the 13th, then there may be a follow-up decision related to that on the 28th and or 29th. So perhaps there's an initial push on the 13th, and actual steps to implement some project will be announced on the 28th. And the 14th, Sunday, we'll also probably see increased focus on oil, gas, pharmaceuticals, etc. But probably on the 14th, compared to Saturday, news may be less so focused on oil and gas, but more so focused on pharmaceuticals or some new treatments. And particularly, they may be related to treating like wounds that are due to burns, inflammation, cuts, maybe athletes, trauma, and or like sports injuries, injuries to the head, bones, things like that, or something that maybe a soldier would suffer from, again, like a wound from shooting. So the emphasis may be on those treatments working faster than before, like the treatment works really fast, or the treatment hasn't produced in record time, something like that. And for background influences and some glance ahead predictions, you can check out my blog at tolstunka.com. But just to add new prediction that I had added last week is for April of 2021 through March of 2022. And this is about, again, focus on oil, gas, pharmaceuticals. So not only will we have this increasing sort of focus on it even this month, but this whole time period for about a year of, April 21 to March 2022, we will see really, I would say, fairly pivotal moment, maybe especially for the US, where there may be some really major changes related to oil industry, and obviously anything that's like commercially produces any related products, so perhaps products that are petroleum based. And also there will be increased news, increased focus on any, again, situation involving hurricanes, excessive precipitation, floods, water erosion, contamination, again, from floods, for example. And I think that this upcoming, the hurricane season, or the season that where you would normally expect floods, is going to be worse than usual. And there also may be announcement about large-scale engineering projects that involve, again, water in some way. So perhaps laying of undersea cables, or something related to submarines, or digging under water, or something along those lines. And on the one hand, they may be quite large and grand in scale, and this may be a beginning of some new industry even that hasn't existed before. At the same time, at this beginning stage, it may actually not go quite as well as planned because of, again, the Neptune also makes things a little bit kind of fuzzy and unclear, so there'll be some confusion, or things perhaps succeed initially but then they stop working. So there could be this things will be progressing, but may not be quite, clear or fully well accomplished right away. And again, as I mentioned, unfortunately, I think this particular hurricane season may be somewhat not different, but more damaging perhaps. And this could be due to, again, some error in, say, forecasting. By error, I mean it's just the prediction may be too fuzzy, where there are too many paths, and suddenly the hurricane or some storm or something takes the turn that was not predicted or appears in the area where the prediction path didn't really take it, and therefore obviously things are not prepared to the same degree, and therefore there are more damages. And basically this whole time period there may be two main themes, where again, excessively wet weather, floods, hurricanes, storms, etc., but also dissatisfaction with some of the entities related to, again, oil, gas, etc., but also banks and financial institutions, because of some either lies or deception or unclear communication, deceptive practices or pollution. So maybe there's an oil company, there's a major spill, and things are not being transparent about what the contamination looks like, and there's some concerns about that. And like I said, the other area, again, that's specific for the US that may be affected is banks and financial institutions. And again, there may be dissatisfaction because some, say, financial policies are not clear and they're confusing, and that causes some upset. And let's see. And lastly, in those same areas, again, oil, gas, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, healthcare, so maybe also banks, financial institutions, real estate, and those areas, again, there may be increased sort of sense of confusion, information not being clear, but also actual breaches, like data breaches, security breaches, and hacks, or even basically things being stolen. And again, those situations may be covered up. Those things, unfortunately, will have high probability of occurring, and that's for the US for, let's say, April of 2021 through March of 2022. And again, you can read more about it on my blog at alsunka.com, but 22 and 23, so sort of following this particular prediction, we will be getting into a period that will be somewhat, I would say, tense for the US, where it will be associated with Neptune getting into its fourth house, which again, Neptune, more water, more flooding, more confusion, and it will be potential contamination. It would be related to fourth house, meaning again real estate, farmlands, and banks. So either floods, some problems related to real estate and with banks' assets, be it due to just bad weather or some deceptive practices. And secondly, at the same time, 22-23 is when we'll have Pluto return, and this will be the first time that US as a country will experience that. So again, major changes related to like governmental structures and how sort of power is implemented, meaning power plants, or power meaning basically who is in charge and who is the leader. So there will be definitely some tension surrounding that, and certainly interesting times coming up. And I think I'll stop here to not make it super long, and hope you enjoyed this and come back next week. Until then, have a great one. Bye.